listening to the UAE's #1 talk radio station.
This is Lloyd's Sunday Lunch on Dubai Eye 103.8.
Yeah, welcome back, and we love it when people give up their time, come into our studios, especially at the weekend. And our next guest is Canadian, who I've known for many, many years, Lorne Riley, who's back with us. Lorne, how are you doing?
Very well. How are you, Mark? Thanks for having me on.
It's a real pleasure. And I mean, you even sound like a country star. When I heard your new song, I sent you a message and said, Luke Combs had better watch out, you know.
I wish.
But I mean, it's a real passion for you, isn't it, country music? Tell me about how it started.
Well, it started. I've done music. I guess I didn't really pick it up till about 2014 with a producer that I'm actually still with, Lloyd. We did a cover album with a few guys from the airport, a band called Stereotypes, and did an indie blues album.
Oh, wow.
The band called Mileage 51. Then I've done Monks in the Moon with Alex Blake Milton. Who
Okay, yeah.
But in about 2019, I decided, I wanted to, I got the bug for writing original music, and I wanted to, I've always kind of liked country at that time, but I didn't really perform it, didn't write it, so I thought I'd give it a go and explore the passion. So I started that, I guess, in about 2018, and it started with my first song, which was, oh God, my goodness.
20 years?
20 years.
20 years.
It was off the album of the same name. That's why I was getting confused. So 20 years was my first song. And I pieced together about 8 tracks for an indie album, and again, produced with my friend Lloyd, who I continue to work with this day. So.
Let's have a little clip of that. 20 years. This is what really started it all off for Lorne.
It seemed like yesterday. Left town on this train, just had to get away. Left you behind, nearly lost my mind. Main Street ain't quite the same. As I walk, it's quite a mile. Half of it's been boarded up, missing teeth in a weary smile. It feels so strange, so much has changed. Where are you now? 20 years, now I'm fine. Feel more than I know. 20 years, press rewind. Realize that I can't let go. One smoky bar, 2 broken hearts, and a railway line.
So there's a clip then of the song 20 Years. I mean, that could come right out of Nashville, couldn't it? I mean, great production on that. It's the real thing.
Oh, very kind of you. Yeah, it was actually, and I'd been connected through a gentleman you probably know, Thomas Ovison, who's been a promoter here for a long time, continues to be. And I played it to Thomas, and he said, you should really connect with someone in Nashville. Maybe I can help you. So he actually reached out to Taylor Swift's dad, who Thomas knows everyone, who connected me with a gentleman called Mark Mason, who I continue to work with to this day as an advisor. And so he he's the litmus test, right? So he heard this one, he says, Lorne, that ain't half bad. So we've taken it from there. It's a song about my hometown, Chapel.
That's a story for the grandchildren, isn't it? Well, it's Taylor Swift's dad who, made those connections.
Yeah.
What was it like, though, working with people from Nashville? I mean, I'm sure they're pretty discerning because they've just got the best of the best of the best. Have you ever been? I've never.
Yeah, I've been a few times.
Okay.
I went with Mark, met some publishers, and that was kind of it continues to be my goal. Is to get my songs published, get a publishing deal. And it's a competitive town. It's a competitive industry. You can get swallowed up in there easily. What I've heard from publishers is you really need to be based here. But yeah, super competitive, but been highly educational and a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that was your first tune, 20 years.
Yeah.
How was it received? I mean, how do you measure how it's gone down? Is it hits on YouTube or what?
It went really well. It's about my hometown, so the word rippled through my hometown, Chapleau, Ontario, in northern Canada.
Okay.
So shout out to Chapleau.
Yeah.
They'll see this.
Hi,
clip.
Chapleau.
Yeah.
I was born in Toronto, so I'm kind of out that part of the world.
I didn't realize
that.
Yeah, Canuck.
And I love how Canadians say Toronto.
Yeah.
And I say Toronto.
The T is silent.
Yeah,
it
Toronto.
Is, yeah.
Anyway, so
it went well, and then I used that as a basis to build the album around. And the album, it was an exploratory.
Yeah.
I was learning how to write country.
Yeah.
So the early days, it was a little patchy in terms of, some songs are better than others, but it was a good first effort. And I've continued to learn and evolve my craft. And so I've just wrapped up the third album, and I've dripped out 3. This is the third single I've dripped out. I might do one more, and then I'll drop the rest of the album. I'm working on my 4th.
Nice.
That should go out next year.
Nice. Country stars that, you really admire and really kind of look up to. I mean, I've mentioned Luke Combs earlier on. It's been his year, hasn't it? He's been cleaning up. He's been duetting with all kinds of people. Fast Car, the version of Tracy Chapman's song, absolutely, tore up the rule book. I mean, who are some of your favorites?
Morgan Wallen is a guy I look to. He just... the rhythms he finds in songs, his melodies and his lyrics are always genuine, and come from the heart. And he's just a great song. Another gentleman who I actually met, who's not a star but is a really famous country writer, is a young man called James McNair.
Okay.
Who's written for Luke Combs, he's written for Hardy, he's written for everybody. Wow. So I kind of follow his work and aspire one day to reach that level.
Yeah.
But
let's talk about your writing. How do you approach it? From your, I guess it's evolved from that first song 20 years to, Hard Act to Follow that we're going to be hearing shortly. How has your writing evolved?
In terms of process, it can vary. I typically start with the lyric and the story. Country music is about stories, and you need a hook. And then
that's the hard bit, isn't it?
The hook is hard.
Yeah.
And it all needs to, everything needs to be brought home in the chorus and the hook. So
right.
I think, like I said, it was a little patchy in terms of had some good tracks in the first one.
Yeah.
Second one, album Sweet Pain, was a definite progression. I'm really proud of both of them in different ways, and I learned a bit more about finding writing for thematically and finding different ways to get to the hook. With this latest one, I think we took another step forward. The process was somewhat different. Sometimes Roy does, he's basically the composer in terms of, he pulls the music together, and we work with artists, Phil 9V Man, who's out of the UK, a prolific bass player. We worked with him for years. Ollie F. Grave, who you've met, who's since moved to Portugal, worked with him for years, and we work with musicians out of Nashville. So we'll put together...
so you used musicians out of Nashville?
Yeah, studio musicians. Wow. We work with local people. Dan Talbot, we've worked with. You may know, a keyboard player here. So it's bringing in from all over. It's it's really a
Isn't it great
virtual
that you can do
international band.
It's wonderful that you can do that.
It's incredible. It's really incredible. And
let's get a couple of musos from Nashville, some of the best session guys on my record.
Yeah, I mean, my fiddle player, Sean Gerber, played with he tours with Martina McBride. He's played on my tracks.
Wow.
Incredible. So, basically, we've, the process now where we really, depends what comes. A concept could come, lyric could come, and I bounce everything off of Mark Mason, just to make sure that we're not too far off the track, and he typically gives feedback. I also am still connected with a publisher, a gentleman called Cheryl Blackman, who's based out of Nashville, and he's another sounding board, and one day hope to strike a vein of gold there and actually write a song that he can do something with.
I know it's your sideline at the moment. Yeah. You have other business interests and another kind of day job in inverted commas, but would you like it to become your full-time profession?
It's a good question.
Yes. I know it's a big jump. It's a big leap.
It's a huge jump.
Leap of faith.
It's somewhat daunting. You figure, in terms of the well of creativity is only so deep, and you have to find ways to tap into that. Yeah. And I really am quite impressed by the songwriters who work, are with the publishing company, sit in and, 5 days a week, 365 days a year, they're writing music and writing songs. That's not easily done. Short answer is yes. I'd like to do more of it. But I don't, I think I still like what I do. I like being a communicator. I like doing consultation. But if the percentages were inverted and I could do some live gigs and write more, I'd love that.
You'd do that.
Love that. Yeah.
Right, we're going to come back. We're going to hear your brand new song. We'll find out a little bit about the story on this one. It's called Hard Act to Follow. That's on the way.
This is Dubai Eye 103.8.
You're listening to Lloyd's Sunday Lunch.
Embrace the spirit of Ramadan at a private